If you want to sing in a karaoke bar in the Philippines, be forewarned not to sing Frank Sinatra's My Way. That tune by Old Blue Eyes could just be your last. Urban legend has it that somebody who sings this song in a karaoke bar will meet a gruesome death. It is believed that there is something inherently sinister in the song, which seems to bring out the worst in people. Actually, this legend happens to be real. In one fatal case, Romy Baligula, 29, was shot dead in the city of San Mateo in 2007. He was halfway through My Way when a security guard shouted that he was out of tune. When he continued to croon, the security guard pulled out a .38 caliber pistol and shot him in the chest, killing him. Another incident happened in Legazpi City, Albay, when a couple of drinking buddies had an argument over who should have sung My Way on the videoke bar. The suspect, 25-year-old Sammy Dakatanan Jr., stabbed Ricamara Policardo, 44, and Jenner Flores, 38, when Policardo insisted he should sing the song instead, which resulted in an argument. Policardo was declared dead on arrival at the Tanchuling Hospital in Legazpi City, while Flores survived. Since 2000, at least half a dozen people have been murdered after or while performing the Sinatra classic. Dubbed the My Way killings, the strange phenomenon has gotten so bad that some bar owners have removed it from the selection list entirely. Have you ever heard the urban legend about a game of tug-of-war where two people have their arms tugged all the way off? On the 25th of October 1997, at the Retrocession Day celebrations in Taipei, Taiwan, one of the largest tug-of-war matches was held, where 800 people lined up on each side of a nylon rope to be crowned the winners. Each side pulled as hard as they could, exerting more force than the rope was capable of withstanding. It caused the rope to snap, along with the arms of the two men in front. Yang Qiangming and Chen Mingkuo each had their arms ripped apart between the shoulder and elbow due to the force of the rebounding rope. They were rushed to the hospital, where doctors spent 7 hours reattaching their limbs. Jean Hilliard was literally frozen stiff when a friend found her in the snow after a night of 25 below zero temperatures. But the 19-year-old has made an unusual recovery. Miss Hilliard was frozen after a midnight automobile accident in rural northwestern Minnesota. When she arrived at the Fosston, Minnesota hospital, her skin was too hard to pierce with a hypodermic needle. Her temperature was too low to register on a thermometer. Her face was ashen, and her eyes were solid and did not respond to light. Her ordeal began December 30th, 1980, as she was returning to her parents' home near Lengby, Minnesota. The family car skidded off the road on the edge of the White Earth Indian Reservation and stalled in the windy, frigid weather. Clad in Western boots, a coat, and mittens, she began walking to Wally Nelson's home 2 miles away and collapsed only 15 feet from his door. Mr. Nelson found her as he walked out the door at 7 o'clock the next morning. Her body was so stiff that Mr. Nelson loaded her diagonally in the back seat of his car and headed for the hospital. If she survived at all, it was likely she'd come out of it with possible brain damage or a double leg amputation. But after 49 days in the hospital, and in defiance of everything known about frostbite, Jean made an astonishing recovery and suffered no later ill effects. Pigs eating a human alive is almost impossible to believe, but this urban legend happens to be true. In 2012, Terry V. Garner, a 70-year-old Oregon farmer, went to feed his animals. Several hours later, when he hadn't returned, a family member went to look for him and found, on the ground of the hog enclosure, his dentures. Further investigation of the enclosure revealed that the hogs, which each weighed about 700 pounds, had nearly completely eaten the farmer, although some body parts were strewn about the enclosure. In Italy, a mobster was killed by being fed alive to pigs by rival gangsters. Francesco Racosta was beaten with iron bars by Simone Pepe, a member of the Ndrangheta crime family, before being thrown screaming into a sty, where he was swiftly eaten by pigs. And in China, 2-year-old Wei Cao is mauled to death and eaten by a pig after crawling into its pen. We've all seen it in the movies, a dead body rolled up in an old rug. But does that actually happen in real life? Back in 1984, 3 Columbia University students actually found a dead body in a rolled-up carpet. The students had found the nice rug in the Morningside Heights area of New York City and decided to carry it back to their dorm. Once they got the carpet back to their dorm, they unrolled it and found the rotting corpse of an unidentified man in his mid-20s with 2 bullet holes in his skull. The human fat vampire legend actually has a 400-year-old history in Peru. During this time, locals spoke of vampires who hunted down and fed on the blubber of tourists and left behind bodies drained of all their fat. It turns out the legend may have been true all along, except the vampires are traffickers who hack people up and remove their fat to sell on the black market. In 2009, Peruvian police officers claimed to have broken up a criminal gang that had been roaming the Andes, murdering peasants and draining the fat from their dead bodies in order to sell it to the cosmetics industry. The collector urban legend is really a catch-all legend for creepy, hermetic neighbors that may be doing something horrifying inside their dungeon-like basements. The most common collector legend is the neighbor who collects human body parts and proudly displays them in mason jars. In Russia, a Sikh historian dug up 150 graves so he could dress the corpses of dozens of young girls for birthday parties. 46-year-old Anatoly Moskvin removed the bodies of girls aged between 3 and 12 to fulfill his twisted fantasies. He then took them home and turned them into a grisly mummy collection, dressing the bodies and skeletons in stockings and dresses. His macabre obsession was discovered when his parents visited him after returning from holiday. The 46-year-old from the city of Nizhny Novgorod in central Russia was arrested in 2011, but it has now emerged that he will not stand trial for his appalling crimes. In Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania, children often hear the tale of a monstrous green creature that wanders the roads at night. They call him the Green Man or Charlie No-Face. If you go out after dark, Charlie No-Face may grab you. If you stay out too late, you may run across the Green Man, who will steal your face to place over the gaping hole where his face once was. And that's just a couple of phrases people use to frighten themselves and others. The legend is based on a real person, Raymond Robinson, who was nearly fatally injured in an electrical accident when he was young and lost his eyes, nose, one ear, and one arm. His skin was so badly damaged, it gave off a strange hue, which is where the green in Green Man originated. Ostracized from society, Raymond walked the country roads of western Pennsylvania by night because this was the only time he could go outside without causing mass hysteria. Everyone has heard the story about some unknowing tourists drugged, carved up, and robbed of their healthy organs. Upon coming to, they find themselves packed in ice in bathtubs with notes that read, "If you want to live, go to the hospital immediately." While the bathtub of ice and notes part may be fiction, this has been known to happen in India. In 1998, 3 surgeons and 7 accomplices were arrested after being accused of tricking people into having their kidneys removed without permission. The criminals would tell the impoverished victims they could get a good job, but first they had to undergo a medical exam. The exam would then reveal the applicant needed a small surgery. During the procedure, the doctor would remove one of the unconscious victim's kidneys, and then the victim would hear nothing more about a job offer. Again in 2008, 3 Indian men were lured to a hospital outside Delhi with the promise of work opportunities. The men were then held at gunpoint and anesthetized. They awoke to excruciating pain, gigantic scars, and fewer organs. In the 1980s or 1990s, Maria Labo is a popular urban legend about a woman who cooked and ate her 2 young children. The legend is popular in the Visayas and in Mindanao, Philippines. It is believed that she was an overseas worker who had become an aswang, a shape-shifting monster, after being cursed, or that she was just a human being who became deranged. When her husband came home and asked for the children's whereabouts, she answered that she had killed and cooked them. Enraged, her husband slashed her face with a machete. Since then, she has been roaming the countryside, hunting for other victims to satiate her hunger. She became like some kind of boogeyman for children who like to wander and loiter around. In 2012, a Thai woman butchered, cooked, and ate her children, aged 1 and 5, and was found by police sleeping in her home, surrounded by their body parts. She claimed she was hallucinating and thought they were pigs. The woman, a member of a hill tribe from the mountainous region of Chiang Mai near the Burmese border, had been suffering from mental illness since 2007, but had recently stopped taking her medication. She had been left alone with her sons as her husband left for a few days to get her medication. She was charged with murder, but has been deemed mentally unfit to fight her case and has been sent to Suang Prung Psychiatric Hospital in Chiang Mai for treatment. In Indonesia, police have arrested a 29-year-old Filipina for killing and eating humans. It is believed the woman has killed and eaten more than 30 girls and many other humans, including her husband, and had kept their meat in her refrigerator and later served them to her friends or relatives.